Have you ever felt like the more you explore deep ideas, the more disconnected you become from others? Like the more you see the world clearly, the less people around you seem to understand? If so, you're not alone. Deep thinkers throughout history have struggled with the same feeling, not because they are wrong, but because they disrupt the comfortable illusions most people live by. Think about this. Society admires strength, celebrates wealth, and respects confidence. But intelligence? True, deep intelligence? That often makes people uncomfortable. History is filled with examples of brilliant minds, Socrates, Galileo, Nietzsche, who weren't just ignored, but actively resisted. Why? Because intelligence doesn't just introduce new ideas. It forces people to confront truths they would rather avoid. Imagine standing next to someone who is physically strong. You might feel inspired to train harder. If you meet someone who is successful, you may feel motivated to improve. But when faced with someone who thinks deeply, someone who sees through deception, who questions what everyone else accepts, something strange happens. Instead of admiration, there's often resistance. This is called the mirror effect. A deep thinker unintentionally reveals the intellectual limitations of those around them, not by arrogance, but simply by existing. And for many people, that's an uncomfortable reflection to face. But why does this happen? Why is intelligence, more than any other trait, met with resistance? The answer lies in how the human mind processes superiority. Physical strength, wealth, or beauty are external. They don't directly challenge a person's identity. But intelligence? That's different. Our beliefs, opinions, and ways of thinking define who we are. When someone comes along with a deeper understanding, it doesn't just introduce new knowledge. It forces us to question ourselves. And people don't like questioning themselves. Instead of being curious, they defend. Instead of engaging, they dismiss. Not because they don't care about truth, but because truth can be uncomfortable. Look at history. Some of the greatest minds were either ridiculed or outright rejected during their time. Galileo was imprisoned for challenging the established view of the universe. Socrates was sentenced to death for making people think too deeply. Even in modern times, intellectuals are often sidelined in favor of those who offer simple, comforting narratives over hard, complex truths. This is why society often rewards confidence over intelligence. Studies show that people naturally gravitate toward those who sound sure of themselves, even if their ideas are shallow, while those who speak with nuance and uncertainty are seen as less convincing, even if they are right. But there's even more to this. Neuroscience reveals that when people feel intellectually challenged, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, becomes active. That means deep thinking doesn't just create discomfort. It can literally feel like a threat. Why? Because for most of human history, survival depended on fitting in with the group, not on independent thought. Being accepted by the tribe meant safety. Thinking differently meant isolation, which could be dangerous. Even today, in social settings, this instinct is still present. Studies show that in one-on-one conversations, people are more willing to engage with intellectuals. But in group settings, the dynamic shifts. Social status becomes more important, and people instinctively reject ideas that might lower their perceived intelligence in front of others. Beyond neuroscience, several psychological biases explain why deep thinkers often struggle to connect. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Those with limited knowledge often overestimate their understanding, making them more likely to dismiss deeper insights. status quo bias. The brain prefers familiar ideas over disruptive ones, even if those disruptive ideas are true. The backfire effect. When people are confronted with facts that contradict their beliefs, they don't reconsider, they double down. These biases mean that even when deep thinkers present undeniable truths, they are often met with resistance rather than curiosity. In today's digital world, this problem is worse than ever. Social media rewards simplicity, not depth. Algorithms push viral content that is emotional, engaging, and easy to digest, not the kind of content that encourages deep thinking. That's why misinformation spreads faster than knowledge, why confidence outperforms intelligence, and why those who question the mainstream narrative often find themselves drowned out by those who reinforce it. So what does this mean for those who think deeply? Should they stop sharing their insights? Should they stay silent? Not at all. But deep thinkers must understand the forces working against them. The world doesn't resist intelligence because it's useless, but because it disrupts comfort. And comfort for most people will always take priority over truth. The philosopher Schopenhauer once said that intelligence is not a blessing, but a burden. The smarter a person is, the harder it is for them to connect with others. Because the more you see, the harder it is to look away. And the deeper you think, the lonelier it becomes. But in the end, would you really want it any other way?